WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. And Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi is in the studio with us this morning. Our conversation is brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Mr. DA, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. How are you today?
Wonderful. It's good to have you with us here today. You know, we had Chief Justin Shaw with us here yesterday.
Yes.
And we were talking about, summertime is such a wonderful time of the year. Folks get outdoors. They enjoy each other. They get get-togethers, backyard barbecues, all those sorts of things. But we talked a little bit yesterday about a topic that I want to bring up with you, and that is the dangers of drinking and driving. Not only don't they go away at this time of the year, but they're actually higher, those dangers, because there are more people who are celebrating, and those celebrations sometimes get a little bit out of hand. We need to really protect each other from drinking and driving, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. And right now is the time that as we're preparing our plans for the holiday tomorrow and over the weekend, it'll be a nice weekend to be out with friends and neighbors. Right now is the time to make those plans as to who's driving you home, how are you getting home. If you plan properly, we can all enjoy the weekend. It doesn't take much when you're driving down the road. There's a yellow line on the ground, and that's what's stopping cars going in opposite directions from hitting one another. Mm-hmm. And, a few drinks and people thinking, I only live around the corner and I don't want to leave my car somewhere. That's a dangerous combination. And, we want to get on the other side of this holiday weekend, enjoying ourselves, spending times with friends and neighbors, not having to worry about, I hurt somebody, I hurt myself, I killed somebody, I'm going to have a DUI arrest, I'm going to lose my license for a year, I'm going to pay thousands of dollars in fines. There's just so many negatives about it. So right now, make those plans as you're deciding what you're going to put on your grill or whose house you're going to go visit. How are you getting home safely?
From a law enforcement standpoint, we have, of course, .08 is the number that we look at for the standard for drunken driving, for driving under the influence. It doesn't take you getting up to .08 for you to be impaired, though. And the consequences in terms of legality are one thing, but in terms of the possibility of causing harm to yourself or to somebody else, one drink can do that, can't it?
One drink can do that. We have a lot of people in the community that are using medical marijuana cards. They don't understand even if you have a medical marijuana card, if you have marijuana in your system, you cannot drive. It's illegal. It impairs you. Having one or two drinks can impair you. It all really depends upon what you're drinking, your body type, what you're eating, etc. But, legalities aside, like you said, the last thing you want to do is kill somebody, kill a family member, kill your friend you're driving home, put somebody in a wheelchair. A conviction in court is certainly one thing, and I know nobody wants that, but having all of those other possibilities, they'll stay with you the rest of your life. Yeah. And there's no apology big enough to turn that around.
Yeah, and as we have said before, that criminal call list that we get once a month of what's going to be coming up in Indiana County Court is always absolutely dominated by the number of DUI cases coming before the courts. Those are the ones that get caught. Mm-hmm. There are many more that don't.
Oh, those are the ones that get caught, and unfortunately, some people view it, and a lot of people view it as, well, I got away with it before. Let me just be careful, or any other excuse. Well, it only takes one time to hit another car and kill somebody.
Yeah. All right. So that's our warning for the 4th of July. Have a wonderful time. But be responsible about it. All right, so speaking of your office and legality and the things that you do in the office, and we get these releases, and maybe we can break them down a little bit. The Drug Task Force for Indiana County is a very active group, and I'm looking here at a big success for the Drug Task Force.
Yeah, our Drug Task Force is operating all of the time, and you may not see stories all the time coming out of arrest. There's a great deal of investigation, intelligence gathering that they conduct. And then they utilize that information, those investigations for large strikes. Once again, we had 3 people arrested last week based upon information and investigation. 46 bricks or 2,300 individual baggies of a mixture of heroin, fentanyl, xylazine. And we've sent it out to the lab to get the actual components in there. So that's 2,300 individual uses of those drugs that are off the street, 3 individuals that are arrested and are going to be facing prosecution either in the state or in federal court. That determination hasn't been made yet. And that is just a win for the community. That is 2,300 individual uses that could kill anybody, that could cause somebody to have an addiction issue, somebody could have used one of those bags and got in a car and killed somebody, committed more crime. I mean, that is just a big win for our community. And not only that, when we see individuals, one of these individuals was coming from Pittsburgh thinking they could come to Indiana County and it's an open market to sell drugs. And they're in jail. And that message gets back to other individuals that might be coming from other areas to say, Indiana County is not a place you want to come to sell drugs.
When we think about it, and again, it's a perception thing, 2,300 bags, we sort of have the idea that what we see on TV and in movies, a bag that is the size of a book, that's not the case here. 2,300 bags, you use the term bricks, which is the bundled together bags. That doesn't take up a whole bunch of space, but it causes a whole bunch of problems.
It's a whole bunch of, the baggies themselves are 1 inch by 1 inch. They're used by collectors of stamps. That's why they're called stamp bags. So it's not much. But 1 beer is 1 serving, and 1 stamp bag is 1 dose of heroin. So if you think about it as soda cans, think of 2,300 soda cans. That's how many servings or doses we have of the heroin, fentanyl, xylazine mix. And it's deadly. It is. We look at it on the table. We have it out. You look at it. It's just death. It's poison. It's misery. It's crime. There's just absolutely no good that comes from it. And knowing our drug task force is out there every day, getting information, building those resources to be able to attack. This was an individual that came to town and only came to town recently. And we sent that message. Indiana County is not a place to come and sell drugs.
Yeah, it's big heroes too. I mean, the members of the task force, any police agency, if you're handling those drugs, if you're around those drugs, you are at risk. So we want to salute them for that.
Absolutely. They're the ones that get it done.
All right, couple of other cases. The Edwards case, life in prison, murder in the first degree. That's an ongoing thing. There's a lot more to happen out of that case, is there not?
There is. This is the murder that happened out of Dilltown, where we have 8 individuals that have been arrested, charged with a variety of crimes based upon their culpability. Taylin Edwards is the first one that we have for a conviction. She entered a guilty but mentally ill plea to murder in the first degree and kidnapping. It's a mandatory sentence, life in prison without the possibility of parole. There's some additional language in the order about her getting psychiatric and psychological care. There was a lot of mental health records that were introduced in court with regards to, her history, but she'll be in prison for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
We still have the 7 other defendants that were working through their cases, working through those motions. Some are cooperating defendants that have lesser culpability in the overall crime, and we intend on having trials, hopefully towards either the end of this year or the beginning of next year, on the remaining defendants.
The speed with which that case broke up was pretty impressive. A lot of investigators doing a lot of really hard work in a relatively fast time to bring those folks, get them off the streets, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Our state police in that matter, I mean, you talk about a case where the only people there are the defendants and the victim. And in a very short period of time, we have 8 individuals in custody charged with crimes off of the street. And who knows what they could have done. They're facing major crimes. They could have fled. They could have hurt others. Our state police did a fantastic job determining who is involved, determining all of the parties involved, and getting them off the street in a very quick period of time.
The Manass Lee case coming out of the Smicksburg area, and then, of course, he had moved out of the county. That case, that's one of those cases that unfolds over a period of years that you have to go. And it's an unusual case and one that nobody is comfortable talking about. But bottom line is, somebody who had been abusing children sexually is now going to be in jail for a long, long time.
For a long time, yeah. Mr. Lee sexually abused his children over a very long period of time. And those victims were able to come forward later in life. Our state police in Punxsutawney area, our victim services were able to offer support. There's times, especially as children or as a vulnerable population, where it's more difficult to come forward as a victim. Even as an adult, it's very uncomfortable to come forward, especially in a crime such as a sexual assault. Fortunately, they were strong enough to come forward and probably stop it from continuing for other individuals. Yeah. There was 5 consecutive sentences that Judge Clark issued on him that resulted in a cumulative sentence of 20 to 50 years. And at his age, I don't think he'll ever be out of state prison.
There's another aspect of that case that I wanted to bring up, and that is that for everybody involved in the investigation, right down to your office, you have to have resources available to the people who are handling this case so that they are not affected in an emotional way, a mental way either. That's a very traumatic thing for your office, for your investigators, for the police in the field. And handling that evidence and the work that must go into it, it's very, very stressful on everybody in law enforcement that's involved in that. Those resources are really important to your office, are they not?
They are. And we always talk about victims going through a lot of trauma in being the victims of a crime and how they cope with it. When you look at law enforcement, they're going to such scenes all the time, and they're not only just crimes, they're going to suicides, and they're going to child abuse, and they're going to all sorts of other crimes in which they're being subjected to trauma. And people in the criminal justice system, our office, who is sitting with the victims and helping them work through it, I take great pride in my office. We have a fantastic staff. I would put my staff up against any other district attorney's office, not only in the Commonwealth, but in the country. We have great people that work in our office and in our court system. And we are always trying to take strides to support each other, to understand what our limits are. And sometimes that just means, hey, I have to close this file and move on to something else and give myself a break, or I need to go talk to somebody or kind of vent a little bit.
Yeah.
But that is very important because everybody in the system, our law enforcement, our EMTs, our 911 dispatchers, our hospital emergency services, there's so much they go through. And that's why I always suggest to people, you can support everyone in a few ways. One of them is letting them know you support them. 2 is when I'm saying don't go out and drive drunk, you're supporting law enforcement and your firefighters. Our firefighters want to sit at home and enjoy the 4th of July too. Yeah. And if there's a DUI accident, they're called out to go sit on the scene for hours. Mm-hmm. So we do. We deal with a lot of trauma, the men and women on the streets, and in a lot of aspects, our corrections officers in the jail, they deal with a lot. And I know they're always appreciative of the community because we know the community supports what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So a big salute to everybody in the office and in the entire chain of any law enforcement investigation because you're doing vital work, but it does take a toll. District Attorney Bob Manzi, thank you for the visit today. We appreciate it. Happy 4th.
Thank you, Todd. Have a great 4th.
It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. 26 minutes after 8 o'clock, Boomer Sports next, and then Jake in the newsroom.
This is Bart Winkler with a Sports Minute, sponsored by WeatherGuard Truck and Van Equipment. They're just as driven as the hardworking pros they serve. There was a 0.0% chance Donovan Mitchell was going to stay in Cleveland, according to any NBA pundit. They were off by 100%. Mitchell signed a 3-year max extension on Tuesday, remaining a Cavalier. Despite all the commentary, it would not happen. Mitchell had been mostly quiet on the matter, but actions speak louder than words. He showed that action on Tuesday as the Cavs keep their man. I'm Bart Winkler.
For more than half a century, contractors and trade professionals have relied on WeatherGuard for heavy-duty truck and van storage equipment, not just to protect their valuable tools, but to protect their professional reputations. For pros, the WeatherGuard badge makes a statement about what drives them. It says, "Bring it on. Been there. Done that. We've got your back," without saying a word. And the folks at WeatherGuard, they're just as driven as the hardworking pros they serve. See what it means to be driven at weatherguard.com.
COVID-19 has cast a spotlight on the stark inequalities that drive poverty. The poorest communities in the U.S. and around the world are suffering the most. Oxfam believes we can put systems in place to protect health and livelihoods in the future if we work together with dignity and compassion. Learn how you can help offer safety to the most vulnerable and fight for a more resilient future at oxfamamerica.org. Sponsored by Oxfam America.
Hurry into Mattress Warehouse and save $500 on the all-new and best-selling Tempur-Pedic Breeze mattresses with 0% financing, a 1-year low-price guarantee, and free next-day delivery. Why shop anywhere else? MattressWarehouse.com.
Welcome to BR Electric and Audiovisual. We pride ourselves on being your one-stop destination for all things electronic. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to guide you every step of the way. We don't just sell electronics, we're your go-to team for installation and setup too. Let the pros at BR Electric and Audiovisual handle it for you. Conveniently located at 57 North 11th Street in downtown Indiana. Discover the latest tech trends and experience superior customer service. BR Electric and Audiovisual.
It all starts with milk. It's nutritious and delicious, and it makes yogurt and cheese and so much more that can't be beat. No wonder people have been enjoying milk for thousands of years and counting. Plus, milk and dairy do a great job of supplying essential nutrients naturally. Such a great job, in fact, that they're